We are back with some news about Clank, Lairs, and Lost Chambers. If you didn't notice this, they'd announced, I don't know, a few weeks ago, this new expansion for Clank Catacombs. It's called Lairs and Lost Chambers. It sounds like it's largely
Layers.
a big pack of tiles and that include layers. You know what else it includes?
Lost Chambers.
Lost Chambers.
Yeah.
That's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. No, we actually twisted their arm, and I don't literally mean twisted their arm, but figuratively we twisted
long distance arm twisting.
Long distance arm twisting to get a couple details out of them. We've got a couple of the tiles to show you today, and some of the details about how they work.
Yeah, and with that, we can speculate and maybe extrapolate a little bit from this to like the wider theme of what this is. We're definitely seeing some tiles that interact with tiles we've had before. For example, the Lost Chamber that we have, called the Aegis Shrine, actually interacts with the ghosts, which were something that we had in base Clank Catacombs, and I'm assuming there's more ghosts as well. It's a new kind of shrine that when you enter, you place your cube on like normal, but later, if you get attacked by a ghost, you can remove the cube to prevent the ghost attack from damaging you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, a little buffer against ghost attacks. One other thing that you'll notice on that tile, and you will see on the other tile too, are these teal entryways. And these are a new thing for the expansion as well. When you reveal a tile that has a teal entryway, the color teal, you're going to have to orient it such that you continue entering that tile through one of those teal entryways. You can't just orient it how you want. You're going to have to enter through that route, because I'm guessing some of those are going to basically maybe be dead ends, maybe have limited exits and things like that.
Right, it allows for a little bit more, for them to do a little bit more with those tiles by having more interesting paths, knowing that you can't just freely take one of the better paths. Because, and we're seeing on these tiles as well, some of these paths do, like in the base game, have costs associated with them, or even some bonuses on the other end, of course. So like, yeah, it does make for an interesting lack of decision.
No,
and that like you're hoping maybe you don't flip a specific entry tile.
Exactly. I think it gives it a little bit more flavor, because while the designer and the game itself is taking a little bit of the control, it allows them to do more with the game because they have some of that control, right? Like, so they're like, okay, you got this Sphinx tile, spoiler alert, but it's oriented like this, so you're not going to be able to go any further out of it maybe, or something like that, and you have to backtrack, because they want some of these tiles to be kind of like, well, there's nothing past this, so now you have to backtrack, things like that. So it kind of gives them some control over forcing the players to do things.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a variety of these kind of Lost Chambers. I don't think they're all going to be shrines. That's just the one that they
It is the one.
We
don't know how many are in the expansion. Like I said, the expansion does seem, I don't know how big this box is even. But my guess is it might even just be a box about the size or a little bigger than the actual tiles themselves.
Yeah, well, and we've seen like those long boxes they've had, or like whatever adventuring party came in. But
it could be another box like this. Who knows? It might be another. It might be bigger than this.
Well, I doubt it's going to be, but I know it is. We know at least that it's more than just tiles, because there will be at least some new tokens. Because we've already seen the layer that we got was the layer of the Sphinx, or the Sphinx's layer.
The Sphinx's layer, and this is kind of cool. So the layers represent sort of like bigger monsters, unique monsters that you fight. Now, I don't know if there's any other components that go along with this other than what looks like the tile that Ryan is talking about, because it looks like there's space, as you can see here, for a tile with the silhouette of a Sphinx on it. We've been told that there's a couple ways, in this instance in particular, that you can defeat the Sphinx. It takes X number of swords, like four swords, or you can
kill it for 4 swords,
or you can solve the riddle of the Sphinx.
Yeah, that's the
by
cool
spending
part.
some,
seven skill or 4 swords.
Yeah.
Either way, you either defeat it or solve its riddle, and it gives you its trophy. So we're getting these,
which is worth 1 point.
Which is only worth 1 point, and they said that there are going to be a lot more trophies that are not worth a ton of points, because they're teasing that you can spend these trophies now.
Yeah,
that's another new thing that we don't know anything about.
Yeah, they totally teased us and said, There will be other things that trophies can be spent for. More on that later.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise a 1-point trophy is not necessarily a
No,
great thing to have.
exactly. But I bet some of that other stuff is going to be pretty cool. And we're teasing you just like they teased us.
Well, yeah, and the fact that we have, obviously, the whole idea of layers, leans into this idea that they're all going to be different monsters. I mean, we've seen the Sphinx. The Sphinx has its own unique ways to defeat it. It has its own unique tile that is a Sphinx tile specifically. I'm guessing, and again, this is a pure guess, but that all of the layers are going to have specific layer tiles.
Probably.
Like that one that are going to go on it.
Probably.
I imagine.
I wouldn't be, and this is also we've ventured into speculation area. I think it would be cool too if maybe it's not a tile. What if it's a card?
Oh, that could
What
be.
if it's a unique
Like
card
a card
that
comes
you
up
can
there?
defeat?
Ooh,
Something like that. Maybe there's cards that go with all of them.
I mean, there's
they
the
didn't
sky's the
share with
limit.
us any cards, so we don't know that there's any cards in the expansion. It might just be tiles.
I almost guarantee there's going to be at least some new cards. I feel like every expansion they've done has injected.
Maybe.
Even if it's just a few, I bet there will be some new cards.
Maybe. But that is the details we have. We don't know exactly when this is coming out, but it does sound like that they might have a few copies for some lucky fans at Gen Con even.
I want to be a lucky fan.
But don't hold your breath, because with Gen Con, it's one of those things where they're talking a few copies. My guess is that means they're trying to arrange for some air freight to get some there.
Shipping
But who
it
knows?
over.
Maybe they'll have like truckloads. I don't know. But it sounds like this is going to be something that happens within the rest of this year. Maybe sometime starting at Gen Con, into Essen, and towards the end of the year for, everybody.
I'm excited about it. And, while we have you here, I mean, obviously, if you watch this video, you might be a fan of Clank already.
You might already know this.
They might already know this, but they also announced that the Clank app is entering into its beta testing phase, which means that the Clank app is around the corner as well, which is another huge cool thing for Clank fans.
Yeah, it looks really slick.
It looks awesome.
First of all, if you're not familiar, Direwolf, I believe, started as an app company. They were doing digital games. And then they made this transition. So, of course, they do all their own digital versions of their board games. And
for
some
other
others.
companies,
And for other companies. Ryan and I were talking before we filmed this. I'm surprised they haven't done Clank yet, because they already have Dune Imperium and stuff out. And this is Clank. This is base game Clank, the app, going into beta. And if you are a backer of, I think, Acquisitions Inc.,
the second one,
they were giving beta keys out, I assume, to certain levels. Probably
probably
not everybody. But you got a beta key. So betas are out there. That generally means we're probably getting close.
Probably means we're maybe getting a little closer.
On Steam, it still says unavailable, obviously. But we're going to try to get our hands on one of those beta keys to try it out. But again, they do a great job. They're one of the best in that
for sure. They're digital
area of doing digital board games.
If you watch any of the footage they have of the Clank app already, it looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks really
fantastic,
cool. If you're a Clank fan, it's definitely something to check out. But anyway, that is our sort of news segment on Clank.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have some more news leading up to Gen Con. But this is probably the first one kicking that Gen Con drive to Gen Con off.
And it's kind of amazing that almost 10 years later, we're still excited about new Clank. That's a testament, I think, to how good.
10 years?
Almost. It was like 2017.
I guess that's true.
It's
approaching that.
It's approaching 10 years. Okay, it's like 8 years.
By the way, if you do get on Steam, check out that first review quote. Man versus Meeple. One of the best deck builders we've ever played. And it still is. Now, obviously, a lot has come out since we made that quote, but we still stand by it. Clank is one of the best deck builders out there, and I think it deserves a lot of credit for evolving the deck builder quite a bit.
For sure.
But anyway, that's what we have today. If you have any questions about any of that, please make them in the comments below. We'll get down there and answer whatever we can. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.